Okay, so we're back on this farmhouse edition. I'm about to splice together a few videos doing this. Our local concrete companies are, a couple weeks out, and that just don't work for me. So we're going to be mixing this concrete with a mixer to around the 3,500 psi mix. Got the sand and gravel over in the driveway and the Portland to mix it. The rebar's tied back into the main footer, and I've got 2 half-inch sticks of rebar running through the footer in its entirety. Those vertical ones are actually driven in the ground and then tied back to the horizontal strands. These little chairs here, they're pretty lightweight. I don't like holding up too awful lot, but they do hold up the rebar and the cement halfway decent. I think them cost $1.18 a piece or so. Probably should have went with the plastic ones. They seem to be more sturdy, believe it or not. But this is going to be, I'm going to update as I go along instead of just doing video and speeding it up. I got to get the rest of the leaves out of the footer. It's been a few days since we worked on this. Now I quit the form here because the dirt's high enough to capture the sides of the footer going back into the foundation where we're tying in. And then the rest of this is pretty much just so, originally I'd planned on getting a concrete truck to bring the concrete, and with it being just me pouring it, you have to do it fairly quick to get the truck unloaded and out of here. So that's the main reason I did the forms, plus some of the footer sticks a little above the ground before the backfill comes in. So some places it was necessary, but with me pouring it by hand now is not as necessary, but it will make the job a little bit easier yet. I've already raked a bunch of the leaves out. I'll blow the rest of them out. We're about to start pouring concrete. When I get to a good point, I'll video with some of the concrete. So we're a couple hours later. I definitely underestimated pouring all this by hand. But we're getting there. We're over halfway done. And that step ate up a lot of concrete. I poured about a 1.25 yards, maybe a little bit more so far in all of this. Maybe 1.5 yards. But the step did eat a lot. And, a lot of the time was spent getting everything together. It is a lot of work. I forgot how much work it is making concrete. This more than likely will be the last time I ever, mix this much by hand or with a cement mixer and go this route, just because the time is worth more than the savings. We're just kind of doing this out of necessity because of the backlog at the concrete plant. But next time we will wait. Not trying to discourage you, but no, it is a ton of work to move this much material. I think it was around 3,400 pounds per yard, somewhere in there. It's a 3,500 psi mix. We're using 6 sacks of Portland per yard, and there's around 1,600 pounds of gravel and around 1,500 pounds of sand. There was the upper 1,400, but closer to 1,500. It's almost a 1:3 ratio with an addition of Portland to make it closer to 3,500 psi from the best I can find. But that's all for now. I'll come back when we get this other half poured. Well, we finally got the rest of the concrete poured. The footers are done. Now I've unmasked the step over there so it could dry since it's a little bit thicker. We'll now give this a day or so to dry and harden real well, and we'll start laying block. It was a lot more work than I remembered it, but we got it all done. It took roughly 7 cement mixture fulls to make a yard, and I was at about 2.6 yards or so on this after I sat back and figured how much was here. That's a lot of material to move, and you know, I underestimated it, but if you're not making mistakes, you're not working. But the footers are done. Left them a little bit rough so my mortar will stick good. And when we get to land block, it'll be the next video. And I'll explain what I'm doing, how we're laying it out. I've got some halfway decent boards here to relocate my corners. Of course, I'll check all that and make sure everything's in perfect square. And then we'll lay our corners and then start running out the rest of the blocks. And after that, the framing will go fairly quick. A lot quicker than this portion. Now, over the next week or so, we have a lot of rain forecasted. So these footers will have 2 or 3 days here to dry before that rain starts. But more than likely, I'll have to start the block after this rain passes through. This is no big deal. May try to lay a couple, or lay this corner and the upper corner before that rain. But until the next video, thank you for watching.